And we're live.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting film journey here on Inside Movies Galore, where we are pretty much celebrating our 5 years of being on together. And it just so happens to be our good friend Forrest a month, and this will be his second feature that he's subjected us to. So, why don't you tell us, Forrest, a little bit about the film that we are going to be going on about tonight.
Thank you, Dave. Tonight we are going to discuss a movie that I had pushed to get on the unintentionally scary movies month, but didn't make the cut. So now I'm finally getting around to it. It is the 1987 independently produced, Disney distributed animated feature, The Brave Little Toaster, directed by Jerry Rees, written and directed by Jerry Rees, and based on the short story by Thomas M. Dish. Starring Deanna Oliver in the title role, along with John Lovitz as along with a few notable names, including John Lovitz as the radio, Tony the Tiger himself, Thurl Ravenscroft as Kirby the Vacuum, also Timothy E. Day as Blanky, Tim Stack as Lampy, Phil Hartman as an air conditioner and a ceiling lamp. And I think it's as far as notable names in this movie. It's a story set in and it's set in a world where electrical appliances are and other consumer electronics and machines are can come to life and talk. Sort of a precursor to Toy Story, which interestingly enough, a number of animators who worked on this movie went on to work for Pixar. So it involves these domestic appliances. I'm sorry, I'm losing my composure, but electrical appliances that come to life and talk. For a group of which include the titular toaster, a desk lamp, a blanket, a radio, and a vacuum cleaner. All go on a quest to search for their master, Rob. And this should be an interesting discussion here. For first impressions, should be an interesting discussion since some of us here grew up with it, and some of you didn't. I'm going to start from my left. Brandon, was this your first time watching The Brave Little Toaster?
Oh, not at all. I remember seeing this as a child. It came out around, I didn't see it in theaters, but I did see it when it came out onto, I guess, satellite TV. So I was around 8 or 9, I think, when I saw it. And it was a very interesting watch the first time through. I don't know why, and I still, to this day, always think the lamp reminds me of one of the characters from Mary Tyler Moore. I think the writer. But I always loved the radio, and there were parts of this that did creep me out a bit. But returning to it, I have to say, it's not as creepy as I remembered it, but I think as a kid, you definitely remember things as creepier than they were. I mean, shoot, I was scared by the Garfield Halloween special, for goodness sakes, as a kid. So, but, decent and fun for what it was.
Okay. And wait, I think, is Kim with you?
Kim is. She didn't watch it all the way through, though. I don't
Okay,
think.
okay, because I heard her earlier, and I was wondering if she's going to be joining us, or if we want to get her first impression. Dave, over to you. Is this your first time watching The Brave Little Toaster?
No. In fact, when I was a kid, this was a film that I put on for multiple watch, but it has been actually years since I've seen it. I don't even own it on DVD. but I remember it being on a taped VHS along with like other films. I'm not sure exactly which ones my mom taped on it, but I forgot how creepy it was, but creepy like to say the least. But it was good to refresh my memory on the moments, because I remember up to like the moment like they leave the place, and then anything that happens in between was kind of a blur. But I remember it being a favorite growing up, and it just, it's not that I haven't forgotten it. It just, you grow up, and other films become your specific tastes, and but I'm glad that you brought this up for this discussion, because it was an enjoyable watch for me. I laughed a couple of times, and enjoyed some of the specific scenes. So it was a pleasant watch, a pleasant experience again. So I would have to say I've seen it maybe about 7 times. So
Okay, all right, very good. Over to you, Tammy. This is your first time watching The Brave Little Toaster?
Yes, it was my first time. When it came out, I think I was a little too old for it. I was about 15, so really wasn't my thing. Um, for the most part, it was enjoyable. The only thing is, I kind of shy away from movies like this and Toy Story 2 that make things come alive that aren't alive, because kids are really impressionable. And I'm sorry, I don't. I can see a child thinking that this is really alive, and it's not. Ever seen movies like this and Toy Story. I think sometimes they should watch what they make look alive, because some kids will take it literally. You know. Other than that, it was cute. It had definitely had some moments that I was like, "Wow, okay." Um, I thought they were, um, in some instances, some of the characters I thought were like a little rude to each other for it being a child's movie, but it was all right. I didn't mind watching it.
Okay, and over to you, Dustin. Is this your first time watching The Brave Little Toaster?
I think this is my favorite movie when I was really little, and I have no idea how many times I've actually seen this, but I know it's a lot. So I really like this movie, and I'm not exactly sure why it was such a big thing for me. But a lot of it really stuck with me, and I catch myself saying like dialogue from it kind of all throughout my life. Like, how could it be worse? It couldn't. I lied. Like, I say that with some frequency, along with some other lines that I somehow can't remember at this moment. But yeah, I was happy to rewatch this, and it's honestly pretty good. I think there are actually 3 of these.
Yes, there were.
There are. Did you say 4?
No. So yes, no. I said yes, there were.
Okay, yeah.
The Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars and The Brave Little Toaster to the Rescue. Those two were actually produced by those two, whereas this one was picked up for distribution was independently produced and picked up for distribution by Disney. The sequels were actually produced by Disney.
Oh, okay. I didn't know the origins of those. This is something I've actually never seen offered on DVD or Blu-ray, but I bet it's probably out there.
It is on DVD.
I've seen them at Walmart for like $5 a piece.
Yeah, I got a copy from. Yeah. I'm sorry, Dave. Didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, not a problem. But I believe the Brave Little Toaster to the Rescue comes first, and then Goes to Mars is second.
Right.
So.
Yeah. No. I mean, I have a copy of it on DVD that I got from Best Buy about a year ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but but it's not on it's not on Blu-ray or streaming because of distribution rights issues. Because Disney only has distribution rights in North America.
I was thinking I got my DVD version of it a long time ago. I don't know about the sequels, but I don't really care about the sequels, so I guess that makes sense.
I remember the sequels actually being pretty good, like for what they were. Like I especially remember He Goes to Mars. I don't remember the second one, but I remember He Goes to Mars, and that had some interesting stuff in it. But yeah, I've remembered these characters pretty much my whole life. So yeah.
All right. And over to you, Jake. Is this your first time watching The Brave Little Toaster?
Yes, it is. I feel as though I was aware of this movie. I feel like it. The title just seems like it was always there. You know what I mean? Like it was familiar to me, but I am reasonably sure I never saw it growing up. And I'm reasonably sure I never really had any particular interest or desire in trying to see it growing up, honestly. Kind of to riff on something Tammy said, I disagree that it's inappropriate to have kids see movies like this. I do disagree on that. But me personally, they've never been my go-to. You know what I mean? Right. Like I don't get the intense love for the Toy Story movies that a lot of people do. I think they're really, really, really good movies, but I think they're overrated. And I think part of that, maybe they don't hit me as much. The Pixar films that tend to hit me a little more tend to be the more human-leaning ones, if that makes sense. Animal movies haven't bothered me as much, and you know, talking animals, I get into that. But talking appliances, yeah, it's not something that I would be first in line to see. And the title just makes it sound like a total kids movie. The art style makes it. The art style makes it look like a total kids movie. If I had known about the Pixar connection going in, or I probably knew about it, but I didn't really pay attention, I think I would have been more intrigued. And as it is, there are a lot of the beats that the Toy Story movies would end up hitting. You can see in this one, no doubt about it. And I like how, just like a Pixar film, it doesn't treat kids like idiots. I mean, it goes into some dark places, and it deals with some adult things, and it's kind of cool how an 80s kids movie just casually has an interracial couple in there, which, that's something you wouldn't necessarily expect. It's, there's a lot of good there, and I enjoyed. I thought it was well made. I agree. I think it was Dave who said it kind of became a blur for a while toward the middle of the film. And to be honest, I probably was asleep for part of that because it became a little bit of a blur. But the beginning and end of the film, I was watching it, and I was, really, I thought it was really well made. But it did kind of wander in the middle.
I had a question for those who didn't see it for the first time. Dane had brought up something many years ago when we discussed National Lampoons and Scrooged about how people typically only like these types of things due to nostalgia. Do you think that nostalgia is the main factor for people loving those, or actually having the Toy Story movies be as endearing as they are to the populace? Is a lot of these people started them when they were kids?
I don't know if it's all nostalgia with this. I mean, yeah, it was one of my favorite movies back then, but rewatching it again for the first time in probably like 8-10 years, I still really liked it, like, as an adult, even though I knew the story beat for beat and the songs word for word.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually
Oh,
really
yeah. And I like
grim
the
in a lot of
songs.
places. It is kind of nasty almost.
It's very, yeah, it does very, actually, honestly,
Yeah.
like it's, I mean, yeah, I watched it as a kid and kind of didn't, and enjoyed it, but like watching it as an adult, I don't know, I kind of see it a little differently, and like picking up on things I didn't pick up on as a kid, those darker themes. I'll admit, it's like for me that this movie and Pinocchio, I find a lot more disturbing now as an adult than I did as a kid.
Well, I found Pinocchio heavily disturbing as a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a couple things in this are honestly kind of shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the time period, I mean, they were showing a lot of consumerism too. Like at
Yeah.
one point with
Oh.
with that part where
Cutting edge.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it was you got to look at the time period. I mean, it's the late 80s, and you can't get more consumerism
Yeah.
in the
Wasn't
United
this-
States.
Didn't
Greed
this
is
come out-
good, all this
Yeah, that was
stuff.
Didn't
really
this
taking
come out the
flight at the
same
time.
year as Wall Street?
Yes, it did, 1987.
Yeah.
So right there.
So, yeah, so there you go. Yeah, Greed
they're
is
both-
good. That
I
And
was
they're
born the
both
year
in my
this came
top 10
out,
movies
wow.
from that year.
It definitely
What
reflected the times.
what day and month did this come out?
Huh? Which month?
Yeah.
Okay, so premiere was May 8th, 1987. It premiered in Baltimore, Maryland, but then it premiered at Sundance in January 1988, and is the first animated movie to premiere at Sundance.
Oh, May 8th. Okay, because I'm November 8th in 87, so that's
September 25th. Oh, I'm
so
September
it's-
25th, 1987.
yeah. It's like slightly older than me. That's cool.
Same here. Yeah, it's 4 months old. It's 4 months older than me and Mo.
Cool.
And of course, I was 8 when it came out. So there you go.
So from the perspective, Brandon, for your question, from the perspective of one that didn't grow up with it, I will say, based on one viewing, but based on also my viewings of the Pixar films, and one could also talk about the Ghibli films because they're a similar mindset, I think you could say, in terms of actually respecting their audience and aiming for a multi-level, multi-generational audience. They have high rewatch value, and it tends to hold through the years. Even though I say the Toy Story movies aren't my favorite movies, they have a high rewatchability. If I just want a casual movie to watch, they're not a bad choice to put on, So I think I could see how this could be one that even if you came to it later, it might have a high rewatch value. I haven't put that to the test, but it seems logical.
It's harder for me to really determine because I did have some sort of I did have some nostalgia value to this, so I do know that when I watched it, I mean, I enjoyed it, but definitely there is a bit of nostalgia attached to my enjoyment of it. So that's why I ask people who haven't.
I would say that there is some nostalgia for it because it was at a time period where I was a kid, because I was 3 years old when this came out, and I remember getting into it earlier on. I don't remember it being much past my whether I was 8 or 9 or whatnot, but as an adult, thinking back to something that Tammy said, is that she thought that they were actually rather rude to each other, the characters, and
I think these because these characters these characters had been together for years at the start of the movie, and I think they all live in this cabin and probably were getting probably had a little
They're getting on each other's nerves there.
Yeah.
Well, there was one moment where the Kirby when like right as they got to the waterfall is all of a sudden he like
tries to commit suicide.
Well,
Although I think we're jumping a little far ahead here.
let's start at
And we've got Mo too. We also have Mo with us.
Hey, Mo.
Sorry, Mo.
About time.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's in time for first impressions.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So I think Jake, were you finished?
Oh yeah, I'm good.
Okay. So Mo, first impressions of the Brave Little Toaster. Was
Brave Little Toaster is one of those movies that it's probably one of my first favorite movies that I saw that my parents didn't pick out or somehow expose me to, you know. I couldn't swear to you that I remember the exact day that I saw Brave Little Toaster in the video store, but I know that I was always stoked to see those characters like on that VHS case, and it was definitely a frequent rental when I was a little kid. I had a little red radio like that used to attach to my bike, and I named him Beeper, and we had many adventures together. So this movie means a lot to me. It's one of those childhood classics, much like Land Before Time or things like that. That, of course, I showed it to my kids, and or my kid, and she loves it, and it's just great. Man. I don't know. It's also kind of scary, as I'm sure we're all aware.
Yep.
But
yeah.
did your radio sound like John Lovett's though?
No, unfortunately. In my heart it did, but it's mostly sounded like bad reception.
Yeah, that's the ticket. Is that Elmo? Or
that's mostly it. I mean, it's a really solidly put together little animated film too. I think I'm not even sure who did this, to be honest.
It was Jerry. It was written and directed by Jerry Rees, based on a short story by Thomas M. Dish. And a lot of the animators who worked on this movie went on to work because it was independently produced, and a lot of the animators who worked on it went on to work for Pixar. Actually, John Lasseter, who was originally going to do it as a CGI movie with Disney, but that didn't come to fruition, and then eventually was turned into an independently produced animated film and picked up for distribution by Disney.
Right. I feel like I've always thought that some of the art style and animation sort of reminded me of stuff like Bonkers as well. I don't know if you remember that cartoon.
Oh yeah, from the Disney Afternoon.
Yeah, so maybe there's like some overlap between talent on that too. But yeah, it's got like a fun feel to it, and it's just a well put together animated film, and it makes sense with what you've explained right there. So, yeah.
All right, and for me, this is definitely not a first time watch. I remember the first time I saw it. So I actually got the video cassette as a Christmas present for my grandmother. So it was a regular, and 4-year-olds at that age, they'll probably watch a movie over and over again, like in a row. And this was one of those movies for me. And also, I remember also being a Disney Channel airing it regular. I remember it being on Disney Channel's lineup, like a regular rotation on the Disney Channel, too, around that time.
That's actually how we had it. My dad used to tape stuff off TV all the time, and my copy of Brave Little Toaster was recorded off the Disney Channel.
Yeah, I would take it. I had to I remember my parents. I remember had at least up to 3, several. I had multiple classic Disney movies on VHS, all recorded from Disney Channel before it became a tween network. And
I remember watching Jaws 2 on the Disney Channel somehow. Like, they used to take themselves pretty seriously.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, early on, Disney had a little bit more respect for their audience, child-wise, and they were willing to test the waters a little bit. I think they're gaining. There was a point where I don't think they had much respect of anything, like in the aughts, but I do
Right.
feel like they've started to gain a lot more with shows like Owl House or Amphibia or shoot, gosh, the Gravity Falls.
Gravity Falls.
For
Yeah.
goodness sakes.
Or movie
So, I mean,
wise, they finally achieved Pixar status with Zootopia.
yeah, they're taking more risks than they used to than they did during that middle time, late '90s, early 2000s. But during the I remember during
Yeah.
the '80s and '90s, they took a lot of. Well, they had to because they were trying to push the Disney Channel off the ground, so they were trying to throw everything at the wall and hope something stuck.
And yeah, they were still like trying to recover from the dark ages. They were also recovering from the dark ages of the late '60s and '70s after Walt Disney had died, and were trying to find their footing again.
Well, they definitely missed opportunities during that time with losing some of their better animators and talent. But yep, but in the '90s, they definitely had their second renaissance until the early aughts, where they fell back down.
Right.
You know what? I just it occurs to me this movie might also be somewhat responsible for my love of road trip films. You know.
Right.
Because it is a badass road trip movie.
I mean, yeah, get on the old office chair and just take off down the highway. Most definitely.
With a battery that
the car battery.
Yep.
Hey, if you could refill a battery with lightning like that, that would be very that'd be useful.
Yeah.
They should have all been sprayed with battery acid.
I'm surprised the lamp was like I was struck 66 times.
But yeah, it was a frequent watch for me growing up. I remember when I was little. I remember at one point though, my mom loaned the movie out to the kids who lived across the street from us, and then they ended up moving and taking their copy of my copy of it along with my copy of the Brady Bunch movie with them. That sucked. I remember but then over time, got older, kind of my tastes ventured elsewhere, and then I kind of found myself, and then one day I found I don't know, maybe it was just me bullshitting with my friends or something, but it came up. So I remember rediscovering some of the songs in this movie on MySpace, and then I went to my to my local library and tracked down a copy on DVD to rewatch it just to jog my memory. And I was an adult. I was I think I was an adult by this time in my 20s, and I still found it very enjoyable. I agree that this movie definitely has a lot of respect for its audience, for children, but also there's a lot of adult themes, or themes that adults may understand better than children, like death, like death and abandonment, and that whole there's that whole keeping up with the Joneses mentality. I definitely find, and as I mentioned earlier, that I watched the movie as a kid. Yeah, there was a lot of dark moments that I knew as a kid. Even as a kid, I knew they were dark, but watching it as an adult, I find them more I definitely find them more disturbing now than I did back then. Or to the point where I'm thinking about, I'm like, oh geez, I don't wait, that'll kind of fuck up your day.
That's why I added the fire to the background.
Yes. Oh my god, that scene. I remember working on I remember I was working on a film shoot years ago, and we were dressing the set. We got around to talking about this, and someone mentioned that scene, the scene with the dream scene with the clown. But yeah, I think the animation is still beautiful, great songs, believable characters that you love and hate. they're kind of like family. The characters themselves are like they're like a family. And I think yeah, and it's a shame though that because of the distribution rights, it hasn't quite, because it seems like it's largely millennials that grew up on this, or at least older millennials. But because of distribution rights, they can't show it on Disney Plus. It hasn't made the jump to digital, to any form of digital release or even Blu-ray or 4K.
Yeah, I think it's that Xennial generation movie. Really, I guess you could say the
Xennial, I think.
Yeah, the young
Young
Gen Xers and older millennials. Yeah, we kind of have that. We do have that overlap in cultures that kind of makes it very interesting. I actually don't have a lot in common with a lot of my Gen X brethren, because I didn't get much of the 70s.
Right.
Well, I had a year in the 70s, but half a year.
Okay, so when the movie starts, all the appliances are living are in this cabin in the countryside. They've been waiting for the return of their master, a young boy named Rob. Actually, Rob, whom they have not seen in years. And so they do this. So they start out their day doing chores, which they were designed for, or at least Kirby was, to the tune of Little Richard's Tutti Frutti, until Blanky looks out the window and hears a car. So all the appliances scramble to meet the master, to meet the master, but turns out the car is just passing by, and it seems as if the master's never going to come back. But then they find that a for sale sign has been put on their doorstep, or not on the doorstep, but on their front lawn. Which at that point that prompts the toaster to have all of them go on a journey to find him. So they make several attempts. But in order to get out of the cabin, they try several different techniques to get out.
Okay, I had a thought there. I don't know if anybody else got this. I swear, when I originally watched this, well, okay, I'm not going to go back that far because I don't know what my mindset was then. But when I watched this and I was looking at it, I thought that these were just visualizations of the plans, like that's not going to work. And then, okay, well, let me think of the next thing. Okay, no, that's not going to work. I didn't realize they were really trying these plans out until they come back by the cabin later and see everything
trashed.
I don't know if anybody else thought like that they were visualizing it instead of actually doing it.
Oh no, I knew they were doing it. I knew they were doing it. And also in this cabin is the air conditioner, played by Phil Hartman, who kind of who's basically doing a Jack Nicholson impression, and the air conditioner does not hold back that they've basically been left behind. And he loses his temper. They end up getting an argument with him, and he loses his temper and blows a fuse. What do we think of this air conditioner? This cynical air conditioner.
It's terrifying, dude.
He's a pretty
he scared me as a kid. Yeah, that whole freak out scared me.
When he dies, or at least he appears to die.
Yeah. Well, eventually, the master comes back to the cabin and repairs him.
I kind of like that part because you get to see some of that cynicism melt away a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. he does. Hartman does a, I guess a credible Nicholson, but
Yeah, he does actually does Jack Nicholson and then Peter Lorre as the ceiling lamp.
right.
Well, they couldn't
Dude, back
afford
in the day, it
Nicholson
was
at that
like
point.
that scene with the air conditioner, okay, and then there was like the scene with the furnace in Home Alone, and then there was the scene with the toilet and Look Who's Talking, and it was just childhood trauma trifecta right there.
Especially that talking toilet. Oh man,
dude, I could not go to the bathroom in any house other than ours for probably a year after seeing that movie. I swore he was gonna come alive and fucking try to.
I swear, between that talking toilet, all the VHS covers for Ghoulies, and then the toilet goes from the Ghostbusters action figure line. I don't know whose idea was it to scare people to go to.
Yeah, all that shit going on, and they wonder why so many Power Ranger sheets smelled like pee.
So much
why,
they were scaring everybody from comments.
I can't remember precisely, and I don't know how it came about, but I want to say it was one of the Piranhas movies that kind of made me nervous for a while, or maybe it was Leonard Part 6. I don't know.
The Piranha 2, the Spawning, they came out of the toilet. So
that might have been it. I don't know. Maybe my dad was watching it one night. I don't know.
A proud moment in James Cameron's career.
Indeed.
I bet.
Better than Titanic.
All right, so eventually they rig up an office chair. They rig up an office chair with a car battery. And with Kirby towing all of them, they head out to find the master, and they end up in this thick. Oh god, like a thicket. No, like this. They end up going through all these thorny bushes, and spend the night there. Before they come upon the next day when they come upon a marsh with all these woodland critters and flower, and at least one living flower. What do we think of this part right here? They've got all these woodland critters all over them. The toaster encounters a flower that falls in love with him, and before the toaster brushes him off, and the flower ends up dying.
Isn't there like a bit where they think the mice are like cute or something, or mice start eating Blanket?
Well, okay. What happened was the mice. Blanky thinks they're all cute and hugs them all, but then they try to yank them down into their hole, and chew on the photo that they have of the master that they brought with them.
Did anybody else notice that they did have quite a progression with each other? You could tell they were bickering a lot. We talked a little bit, but that first night, and the second night show that development, and then of course the one after that, you get to see them fully come together. But the fact that Blanket's trying to snuggle up with any of them, they're like, no, get away. Even the toaster's like, nah, dude, get away. I don't. And
Blanky's a very sensitive appliance.
Well, even the lamp starts to question the toaster later on. Hey, you didn't seem to care about him in any fashion before this. Why are you starting to care now?
Yeah, but more of a sense of I don't understand what the heck is your deal. I mean, we all hated him before. What are you going on now? Yeah. Or it's
But even in the beginning, at the beginning of the movie when we first introduced these characters, you can tell Toaster's a little more compassionate towards Blanky than the other appliances.
My favorite's always going to be the radio because John Lovitz nailed that. I really do feel like people have some sort of irrational hate for John Lovitz, which I don't get because a lot of people are like, yeah, but to me, I always consider him in some of the funniest roles. I mean, the Critic, I loved him in The Critic, and a lot of other roles that he did, he usually nails it pretty hard, but this one especially, he did an amazing job with this role. Being that slightly annoying, egotistical radio announcer, it was just great that whole time.
Yep. So so they eventually move. They go on their. They move on. They continue on with their. They continue on with it. So after saying goodbye to the woodland critters, and leaving one flower for dead, one lonely flower for dead, they go deeper into the woods and camp out with using Blanky as a tent.
Yeah, the flower thing is messed up. I just want to add that. Like, seeing it again, it was kind of ew. Like,
I find it kind of depressing. I find that to be one of the more depressing moments of the movie.
It's probably I don't know if maybe most depressing, but it's a
strong
contender.
Well, I would say most depressing, but like one of the more depressing moments. Although I feel like the more depressing moment gets to that's a little later on. But they're in the wood. But they're in the they're deeper into the woods. They use Blanky as a tent. They listen. Radio plays music for them. Lampy tells a story about the master being good to him by swapping out his bulb. And then while they're all sleeping, the toaster has a nightmare where about the master, where the master is making toast, but then the toaster starts smoking, and the cloud of smoke grabs the master and yanks him away, and standing before him is this evil, demonic firefighter clown who just tells the toaster to run, and sprays him with this fork and then hoses him with this uses this hose that sprays forks at the toaster, which he has to keep ducking before he finds himself dangling over a bathtub filled with water.
You know what would have really kind of hit this home even more is if the kid was in the bathtub as he fell down into it.
Oh yeah, that would have been disturbing. Or that would have been probably too far. I think added on. That would have added on. I feel like that would have added on to that scene.
Yeah, I mean the scene was very memorable. I really feel like as a child, you come to it later on, you realize, oh, it was that brief. I swear it was more of the movie, and then but it's still. I mean that was enough. I mean when the clown looks at him and just says "run,"
right?
That right there is.
And he does it like this.
Excellent use. It was the excellent use of voice work and just because they knew they didn't have a lot of time for the dream sequence, and that little bit of time, because the clown is not there for very long. Matter of fact, never comes back after this.
Yeah, it's a brief moment, but it's very memorable. I mean, what did everyone else think of this?
Yeah,
I remember thinking that it was very nightmarish at the time. The first time, after I rewatched it this time, it's like my memory of it flashed before my eyes. So it was like, oh, I remember that, But same as with the weird song that we'll hear about in a little bit. But
all right. So eventually they wake up. There's a thunderstorm, which blows away Blanky into the trees, and lightning strikes. And Lampy is plugged into the battery, which gets struck by lightning. Lampy's bulb blows out, and so they have to wait until morning to look for him. They have to wait until morning to look for Blanky.
Dude, you gotta give this movie credit for not only like being kind of horrifying right from the get-go, but through most of it, they're sort of trying to kill the characters.
Well, I show how dangerous. But this is also a big character moment for Lampy, because the conversation about Blanket leads very strongly into his actions, because the battery had run dead, and he saw what it was, and he knew that they were dead in the water without the battery, so he sacrificed himself in order to charge the battery.
Stood out like a
very
lightning
big,
rod.
Not what most little kid movies like this were giving us back then. Yeah.
Right.
So
Well, I don't know.
Give the writers kudos for character development.
Absolutely. This is again, these guys went on to start Pixar, so, and the rest is history. So the rest is history there.
Yeah, and the lamp is a big part of their whole logo. So I wonder if that's to honor Lampy's sacrifice.
Right. So eventually they find Lampy in the stuck in the tree. Actually, Blanky stuck in the trees, and get him. They get him out. So eventually they make their way to a waterfall. Kirby, and so when they reach this waterfall, they're about to cross, but Kirby tries to commit suicide.
Well, he stops, and then he suddenly it's like he gets afraid of the water.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then when everybody is like caring for him, he's like, "Get away from me! I don't want. I can do everything on my own."
I mean, I think there's a lot of internal struggle going on in his mind when he looks and it feels like his friends are all gone, because he's been acting like, I don't need you most of this time.
Yeah.
But then he ends up jumping in after them at the risk of his own life. I didn't think he was trying to end his life necessarily, but I think he was willing to risk it for the rest.
His whole attitude reminds me of Eeyore's from Winnie the Pooh.
He's a very cynical. He's a very pessimistic, a very cynical. Actually, I would say, very cynical, very curmudgeonly, very kind of a curmudgeon. And he does try to get them. He tries to get them across the river, and they all fall into the river. So he jumps in after them. And they all end up and so they wash out of the river and end up in a swamp, where they find themselves sinking into some quicksand before they're recovered by this antique
collector dude.
Actually, electronic. He was the owner of electronic parts store.
Okay.
Yep. But unfortunately, our text was not saved.
Elmo St. Peter's is the shop owner's name, and he puts them in his monster truck, and takes them to his shop. What do we think of this character? What do we think of this?
Having him drive a monster truck is such like a weird, like, eclectic choice. Like, there are a lot of those in this movie, where it's just like something is really strange for almost no reason. And it kind of adds a lot of character to this.
It's not just a monster truck; it's a pickup monster truck, because he's got a bed, like a trunk space in the back of his truck, to carry shit.
Yeah, I think they did a good choice with. I agree with Dustin that the odd choices there, but when they come into the shop, again, you talk about Toy Story vibes.
All these,
does that not come back to the neighbor thing where you had all of the toys kind of stitched together in that odd way by the kid?
All these appliances that have been mutilated and like put together, mutilated and taken apart and turned into these monstrosities. And so the leader of these mutant appliances gives Lampy a new bulb, and they're trying to figure out a way to escape. which leads into the next song to one of the songs of the movie, B Movie Show.
Yeah, it's the horror song, and it's pretty great.
Yeah, I
really
agree.
like that one.
I think it's a very, I like, it's a very spooky but very fun song.
Very energetic, yeah.
Yeah. Eventually the shop, Mr. St. Peter's goes into the back to get a blender engine. The blender tries to hide himself from St. Peter's, but he's found and his motor removed and sold to a customer. I
love the shadow play here. The shadow play while he's getting the motor.
Yes.
It looks like he's like actually stabbing the fucking thing.
Oh my god, yeah! This part kind of it's a part that definitely. I mean, even though it's an appliance, it kind of does make you squirm. Even though it's an appliance, it still kind of makes you squirm.
Yes, I think it's probably the only time in this film.
Yeah,
it's the only time in this film I think I actually flinched a little bit. Which I did that a lot as a kid, but as an adult, a lot of this was, this is kind of creepy vibe. But that's still kind of like made me go, and when he cuts the tab right next to it. Ooh.
So eventually, St. Peter's goes back for the radio to collect his tubes, but so they prepare a little trap for him. To scare him away, and from taking apart the radio.
And in a sense, they break the fourth wall here because they pretty much scare him by showing him that his reflection, and also that they can talk. So. Right. Whether or not the dude realized that they were talking or whatnot, I don't know, but it still made me think later, Toy Story vibes just a little bit.
But yeah, they scare him away. They scare him away. All the appliances in the shop make a jailbreak for it. Which kind of looking back seems a little off because since you have that customer who's waiting on the radio tubes, it's like he doesn't notice all these electronics have come alive and are
not phased in the slightest as the refrigerator bursts through the wall.
This is bad timing.
And actually the shop owner's dog makes off with the monster truck. If anybody noticed how, but that's a moment that I'm like,
the dog just drives away on the car, and it's like, what?
I doubt he can even reach the pedals.
Maybe they were doing an organ harvesting thing too.
It explicitly showed him reaching the pedal, and that was like, okay.
Oh, that foot! I love that pedal. It was a foot pedal. It was.
I noticed. Yeah, that was great. So they take off in a baby. So the appliances take off in a baby carriage that was used in the shop to get to the city where the master lives. And we come to find the master is he's no longer a little boy, but an 18-year-old young adult who's getting ready to go to college. He's living in an apartment in the city with his mother. When his girlfriend Chris comes to pick him up, to pick up the appliances from the cabin. And so this triggers some of the appliances in the master's apartment, who seem threatened that the master is going to go to college with other appliances instead of them.
Yeah, they're pretty jealous, and they are not subtle about it.
And it's just coincidence that they show up at his door.
Yep. Although prior to that, the appliances wind up going through the downtown area, and get some directions from a traffic light. So they went.
Yeah, and they looked up the address in a phone book, and I was like, really?
I did like
They
how
knew-
they found their way into the city because they utilized the radio signal, which was really, which is kind of a cool idea.
And so they went. So they go to the door. So they go to the master's apartment, and the new appliances answer the door for them. And they encounter an old friend of theirs, the television set, who's probably the only welcoming appliance. While the rest of them just start plotting against them.
And that's something I don't understand. Okay, so you've got all of this high-tech technology, and you're trying to tell me that they still decide to stick with the black and white TV? I mean, it'd be one thing if it was early 80s. I mean, we had a black and white TV in the early 80s.
It's a console TV.
But like
a wood
in
panel.
the late 80s?
Yeah. And
maybe an heirloom kind of thing.
See, maybe it's, although I kind of find it funny though, because a lot of what were considered the cut, because they go into the song "The Cutting Edge," about about how these old appliances are unwelcome, and that they're the latest and greatest. Although I kind of find it funny because a lot of those newer appliances seem more dated now than the older ones. Like that whole big stereo system.
Right. I know that there are some people who still use Kirby's to this day, who still swear by them. Or the toaster. The toaster itself is pretty the toaster and the desk lamp are pretty timeless.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I think that's something that they get lost in themselves, but you can see the arrogance is that those things that are on the cutting edge are the most frequently the things that are frequently outdated.
Upgraded. Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
and I bet radio's probably like really expensive.
Yes.
Like an antique.
He probably works better than the other thing.
Probably. So they sing the song about how they're on the cutting edge, and then throw Toaster and the gang out of the window into a dumpster outside. The dumpster is collected by a garbage truck which takes them to Ernie's disposal. The TV is and the TV sees where they're going. And all the while, the master Rob, he's at the cabin, looking for all the appliances. He finds the cabin's trashed. He's wondering where all the appliances are. But before he leaves, he fixes the air conditioner. He's back. He's back, and he's feeling better.
And I love how oblivious he is to the situation that's going on. It wasn't until he was like going out the door that he finally caught. Oh, Ernie's! This place looks cool.
Yeah, but and that actually brings us to the next segment. The next segment of the movie where they're in the junkyard. There's this giant, nasty-looking magnet that's going around collecting all the junk and putting it on a conveyor belt to get crushed into cubes. Which leads to the next song called "Worthless," where all these junk automobiles are being crushed.
I love this song. For some reason, this song is my favorite. Maybe because I keep thinking that maybe Meatloaf could have sung some of this.
Hell yeah!
I always was impressed by this
song.
Just because it is a song about the end of life early, and we've done everything, but everybody ends up at the same place.
You're talking about "Worthless"?
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was great and creepy.
Depressing.
Very dark song. It's a very dark song. Like when, especially like when they're talking, when they're singing.
Well, how they're singing, they're getting picked off one by one.
Yeah,
it's like How many other musicals do you think of where people are getting picked off as the song goes on? That's great.
If you actually follow it and you look at it, they actually utilize the cars to take you from youth to old age and to death. You get like the car that takes them on the adventures when they're young. You get the marriage, and then you get the hearse taking them to their grave. It's it really is about moving through life. And
did we forget about the conjoined twins as the sewing machine?
Oh, the sewing machines. Yeah, I think they were. They were one of those newer appliances. One of those newer appliances
all the side characters have a lot of character. Like they're all pretty memorable. Like, and they have like unique designs. And that's kind of one of the weirder ones, in my opinion.
All right,
so I see why that would stand out to you.
Well, they're two-faced, literally.
No, that's clever. I never figured that out.
So during this number, while the cars are singing about their lives and getting destroyed, the TV is trying to get Rob's attention to get him to come down, to get him to go down to the junkyard to rescue the appliances. Eventually, he gets their attention. He gets his attention, and says Rob and Chris end up show up to the junkyard. The appliances are trying to run away from this magnet, who is just merciless. What do we think? I mean, what do we think of the magnet? He's just got these evil eyes. Not a word from him.
The magnet is really nasty. Like, it's relentless. It's like once it picks something to go onto like the conveyor into the crusher, like it does not give up.
Oh, it didn't even care about the humans getting on there. It was like, nope.
Yeah. kind of wonder, because a lot of the machinery like that is got to be operated by a human. So you have to wonder if there's anybody, whoever was operating it in the junkyard, what the hell they're doing.
I do find it funny that when it kind of comes up from behind, where it picks him up when he's got the appliances, the eyes and so on disappear, but it still, homes in. It's it is a that is a high tension moment there.
Yeah, picks up Rob and tosses him and the appliances on a conveyor belt. Rob is stuck under some car parts and can't get out. And Toaster's scrambling to do something to rescue all of them. So he sacrifices himself by jumping into the gears of the crusher. And just moments before the crusher can land on Rob and the appliances, Toaster's able to stop it.
Rated G, folks.
I mean, what do you think of this whole sequence of Rob on the conveyor belt with the appliances while Toaster's trying to rescue them? I mean,
fucking horrifying.
It is a lot. Like, it makes you wonder. It's like, is there nobody supervising this junkyard? Is this place just completely automated? What is this?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I think that's a great analogy for the whole movie. Like, this was not being supervised by the people that normally make movies for little kids. That's what makes it awesome, but it's also what makes it fucking pretty rough.
It's like, I mean, yeah, it's like how cannibal are humans in this world that you nearly kill a teen, they would let a teenager get crushed. But so the crusher stopped, but Toaster is damaged pretty badly.
The self-sacrifice. Self-sacrifice is repeatedly banged into your head. Almost every single one of them sacrifices themselves in one way or another.
Toaster, Kirby, Lampy blows out his bulb.
Even Blanket in a way, because Blanket decided to sacrifice himself as a tent, which ended up getting blown away. And
Is this the reason we cried during Eddie's part of Stranger Things 4? I don't know.
I mean, and the radio tried to pull
We've
them
been
up.
indoctrinated.
They
to
haven't
think
seen it yet, so don't say anything.
No one's saying anything. Have we been indoctrinated to particularly care for these characters that sacrifice themselves? I don't know. It's possible.
Actually, Tammy, we haven't heard from you on this. What are your thoughts about this so far?
Tammy, you there?
You're on mute, Tammy. If
I picked a bad time.
Okay, so Rob takes all the appliances home, fixes the toaster, and so he packs them all up in his car, and they go and goes off to college with them. And the end.
Yeah, I think he's like an engineering student or something that he knows like how to.
He must be.
Toaster.
I mean,
Because
fixes the
Toaster's pretty
toaster, fixes
heavily
the air
damaged.
conditioner.
And I really like that little moment between him and his girlfriend. And she's like, "Why don't you just buy a new one? Where can I get a toaster like this?" And he holds up the mangled toaster.
Yeah,
Probably nowhere.
I have a feeling it was at that point rather a unique item.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he had a lot of memories of making faces at that toaster before the toast came out.
Well, he did it again he did it again when he fixed the toaster, just to say, his normal thing.
What do we think of the master himself? I mean, actually, what do we think of the master himself? Because I don't think I've touched on that, or his
He seems like a good guy.
Well, he's
It's fine. It's
Indeed.
just I'm more stricken these days with how much fucking Toy Story blatantly ripped this movie off. You know?
I mean, a lot of the same.
A little bit.
I would say quite a number of the same people worked on it. So
Just a tad. I mean, it's fine, but they basically repeated a lot of this with Toy Story. And
well, I mean, even
maybe
the college thing at the end with them going off to college with him.
I would have probably preferred
second
they
one.
do, that instead with these guys instead of like releasing the shitty fucking sequels that we got. But that's neither here nor there. I think that's the most thing I'm struck with him, and he seems fine,
He's very bland comparison-wise when it
To his
comes to the
girlfriend.
other characters.
yeah, or even his own girlfriend.
Yeah, she kind of reminded me a little bit of an April O'Neil type,
I could see that.
like a spunky reporter type.
She's
So,
wearing a jumpsuit too.
She also reminded me of a character, one of the female character from Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, that cartoon.
Oh, which one? So
I
you
feel that.
Oh, I remember that. There's some nostalgia.
Oh,
I never got the Carmen Sandiego. I could definitely see maybe a bit of an April O'Neil comparison, though.
Yeah, I could see that.
I'm thinking more fashion-wise, I guess. It's kind of a combination. Well, you can tell. I mean, they drew female characters in the 80s very similarly in that way.
I gotta say though, this guy, he must have been a hell of a engineer or whatever the case may be, to take whatever he took out of that, out of those gears and turn it back into a functional toaster. I mean, that was reasonably impressive.
See, the real sequel to this movie is
And he just fixes the air conditioner with like what's on hand at the cabin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's gifted. The real sequel.
So he's secretly MacGyver. Is that
he's
it?
a Mr. Fix-It.
Maybe.
Oh, the real sequel of this is he takes an internship amongst that parts guy, and they all go back. Actually, Actually, the parts guy was pretty nifty with things too. He knew what he was doing. He was an inventor, though. He was trying to really, he was trying to find the perfect item, but he knew what he was doing. He was just kind of butchering things to do it.
and kind of just seemed very carefree about it. I guess so. We'll get to the next category. I mean, music. I mean, there's several. There's at least four musical. There's at least four musical numbers plus a couple of classic tunes from Little Richard.
Mhm.
What do we think of what do we think of the music overall? I think the musical numbers were
great. It's
Yeah.
great.
I do
Yeah,
have to. I do have to concede that on the question of nostalgia, the Tutti Frutti is a song that triggers nostalgia for me, for better or worse.
For sure.
I always
Has-
associate it with Hot to Trot.
I was
But,
associated with what is it, pop rock or whatever, that Disney tape that they released back in the day.
Oh, I always associate with this movie first.
I feel like there was a movie I saw it on. Was it King Ralph that used this? It was,
See, back in the day,
Richard Song
Disney
and
released
Predator.
a VHS
Maybe.
tape called like Poppin' Rock or whatever, where it was like Disney
and
sequences where they had used popular music or like rock music.
I know
just
also
way
my
back-
parent.
Go
I
ahead.
know also my parents had a Little Richard cassette that was in the car, and so that's kind of like it's one of a handful of cassettes that I think of as like, oh yeah, we used to hear that all the time driving around. It's one of the reasons I'm still a lifelong Dire Straits fan, because we had one of their cassettes, and Phantom of the Opera, and there were a couple others. Just hear those a lot.
I'm trying to find the name of that tape because it was a big deal back then, at least for a lot of Disney kids, because it had all those songs on it. I feel like it's like one of those things that's referenced commonly as like a classic Disney thing they did. Poppin' Rock. That's the name of the tape. It was like a Disney TV thing back when they first ever did Disney TV back in like the, I don't know, probably 80s. But it had like Tutti Frutti and all that shit on there.
Mm-hmm.
With like
I'll
animated
Cool.
sequences.
I'll attribute Tutti Frutti to this movie because that's the first time that I had actually heard the song.
And again, the
Oh, no.
original ones are generally pretty good as well. I don't fully remember it to be a movie. Maybe that was part of one where I wasn't as alert. I remember City of Light, and I remember Cutting Edge and Worthless, and all of those. I was sitting there, and I was like, the first one I was like, is this a musical?
A little bit.
and then toward the end, I was like, okay, it is a musical, and it's some good songs. Yeah. But, I mean, for me, like this, I think Mo mentioned, of course, this is like the year before Land Before Time, and I think it was the year after American Tail, and those were some songs that I have some hardcore nostalgia for. As well as Princess Bride's theme song, which that was one from this year. That movie, yeah.
Dude, get this. Okay, this week at the Clinton Theater that I'm too far away from to enjoy, they're playing Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro. And then it's bookended by something you just mentioned. My mind drew a blank after My Neighbor Totoro and Spirited Away.
Sounds pretty
but
cool.
It's a rough one. It's like, damn. If only I lived 2 hours closer.
Right.
Alrighty.
Actually, it might be this movie. That might be why I brought it up. Sorry, I smoked a couple blunts tonight. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is the other movie on the list. And they're also playing Surf Nazis Must Die, but I can't be there for that either because 2 hours away. So, any of you guys tuning in from Portland, get out there to the Clinton Street Theater and take advantage of that.
Well, we'll be getting our trauma fix next week.
Oh yeah. But hold on, before we get to that, I guess we also what do we think about what do we think about I mean special effects, animation,
I think it's safe to
This
say
looks
at the
really
time
good.
this is about one of the best animated movies you could see outside of like the mainstream companies. Nobody else was doing shit on this level, which is why this stands out so well, you know? And it makes sense that a lot of these dudes went on to do like huge shit. But as Forrest has pointed out multiple times, this is basically a good example of like an independently produced animated film. Which you just don't see too often anymore on a large scale like this, where it's going to get massive, you know, video store distribution or things like that.
or a television airplay on a major cable network.
Yeah, everybody remembers my Brave Little Toaster, and for good reason. So that's my thoughts on it.
I thought the animation was great at trying to make these things come to life, you know. I thought that they did a good job of making them, you know, seem lively.
Seem humanistic, or human.
So human. But yeah, I thought the animation was really well done. I mean, for a film of the time, I think it was on par with the stuff that Disney was doing at the time. Which, let's see, this 87, so this is right before Disney hit its next peak. So they were still at a low point, but I'd say that they were at least on par, maybe a little bit better. Which, you know, I mean, it makes sense because a lot of these people went on to do some amazing things for Disney. So, but you got to wonder how this film would have done if they decided to go with the whole Pixar CG animation thing back then. That would have looked very rough with that times CG. But
Yeah, I don't think it would have even been feasible, which is, I'm sure they considered it because that was what they were probably gearing up to do, you know what I mean? But just not feasible for a project like this at the time when it happened, you know. I think Toy Story and a lot of those things that we know Pixar for were the perfect time and place for that to happen. I can see why they would recycle some ideas from this for Toy Story because it was meant to be a big deal. And Toy Story is still a pretty fucking big deal to me.
And then, of course, Seth Rogen took his journey into Sausage Party.
Yeah, and I hate to admit it, but there were parts with this film it reminded me of Sausage Party. There were parts. I couldn't tell you exactly how or why, but
well,
definitely that. And Toy
living
Story
in a world where we know that without this, we wouldn't have Toy Story or Sausage Party. All because of that little toaster and this happy little smile.
Right.
Well, and that fucking air conditioner basically committing suicide.
yeah.
There's a lot of things from the first, 15 minutes of this movie that you can see having influence on a lot of things down the road. You know?
See, we were talking about Toy Story this whole time. The real film that was fully influenced by this was Sausage Party. I mean, I can see it right now.
Now, that would be one, perhaps, back to the idea of it maybe being inappropriate. Well, of course, that one was just inappropriate on multiple levels, but, you know.
What? No,
but mostly in a good way. Mostly.
No,
until
Sausage
about
Party
the last
is,
10 minutes.
Sausage Party is animated, therefore it's a kid's film. Don't you know?
Yeah, dude.
Oh,
Awesome fun for the
God.
whole family.
All right, so I guess go on favorites. All right, so let's go from
probably B movie show or when they get reunited with Master. I don't know. It's hard to pick one favorite because I like all of this so much.
All right. Over to you, Brandon. Favorites.
Probably that moment where you're actually sitting there and you see the blender getting ripped up there. To me, it's one that probably I don't know about favorite as in most enjoyable, but definitely it's one of the more memorable things. The clown one's easy to say memorable as well, though to me it's much more in passing, whereas this one I think maintains that disturbing nature even as an adult.
Okay. What about you, Dave? Favorites.
Oh God, it really is hard to pick just one because there are many in here that I like, but I would have to. It would have to be a choice between three. The shadow play of the electric parts owner, the song that plays after that, and the song "Worthless" during the cars that are being crunched down in the squares. I thought that the different car stories that went along with the song were cool. That you got kind of an evolution of sorts, and you could tell that somebody put some thought into it,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, Tammy. Favorites.
I like the whole thing. Part of what David said with the car crushing and all that, but I liked the main characters in that, how they, kept outwitting that metal thing that was
the magnet.
the magnet. How they kept outwitting the magnet every time and getting away from it and helping each other, and I thought that was really cool. I like that part, and I like the part where they all fall into the water, and the vacuum, who had been kind of not that nice when they all fell, went purposely into the water to save them all and found them all. I thought that was neat.
Yeah, he found them all like right the fuck away. It was like, oh, it was that easy, huh?
But I thought that was neat because it showed how much they really did care about each other and were there for each other.
All right. Jake, favorites.
I'm really not 100% sure. Anything that really leaps to mind that is like a clear favorite, but based on my first viewing, I would say two that would be good, solid contenders. I really do. That Worthless musical number, that whole scene, I just thought that was really cool. And I really like the scene of the TV trying so hard to get them to go to the disposal site, the junkyard. Yeah, it's
that was
like
neat.
that was pretty fun, and and of course that's like total Deus Ex Machina without the TV. I mean, that never would have happened. I mean, it did strain credibility in the first place of them being able to reunite in that way, but the efforts the TV took, I was like, I give them props for that.
We forgot to cover that. That is such a great sequence. It's like, we just need to find some place that's cheap. Cheap! We're talking real cheap!
Right, exactly.
I guess Another good thing I'd like to point out is like when they kind of have their faith rewarded when like he is like genuinely excited to have these like vintage appliances back. Like
yeah, definitely.
that's a good moment too.
Only to get them taken away by the magnet. Mo, favorites.
Well, with a group this large, it's kind of hard to narrow it down to be able to mention like, you know, the obvious ones. So I guess probably my thing would be, I think it's real cool how they're able to establish that sense of like desperation and loneliness at the beginning of the movie. You know, the whole thing that inspires them to go on the trip to begin with, you know, it almost feels a little like emotionally not cool when you watch the movie. It's like, damn, this now I kind of feel that way myself, you know. But it's effective, you know, and there's not a lot of movies like this that would have the balls to do that then or now or even prior. So Brave Little Toaster really does kind of set you on an emotional edge that you're able to sort of teeter on through the rest of the movie. It's pretty solid shit for an animated film. Most of them don't bother to like think that far ahead, you know. So I guess, long story short, because I can't mention all the shit everybody else has mentioned again, I will say just the artistry of that first sort of act of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the whole scene with the air conditioner blowing up, and you know, they're all kind of they're all kind of seeing how they all see each other when the movie starts. Like they're all kind of sick of just, you know, they do the same thing every day and they're sick of each other and sick of doing the same thing.
Actually, it's amazing how much people in the 80s and 90s relied upon impressions. That's kind of gone out. You don't see many impression artists, but I mean, people like Robin Williams and Jim Carrey got their start from doing impressions.
You're doing, you know, you've got Phil Hartman doing an impression of Chet Nicholson as the air conditioner, and then you've got the in the parts shop, you've got that the mishmash, which sounds like Joan Rivers. Or Hartman's doing an impression of Peter Lorre when as the ceiling lamp.
I mean, shoot, even let's say Jim Varney is another excellent character actor that did a lot of impressions.
Oh yeah,
and made his start through that. It's something I don't see as often these days in character actors.
Yeah,
you still see a fair bit, but maybe. I guess you could say it was probably more of a mainstream movie thing, maybe. Than you see now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Shoot, look at Robin Williams as the genie, and
Well, right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, as far as like a mainstream movie performance, you definitely still see a lot of impressions. I mean, this movie notably features future SNL, Phil Hartman, and I think John Lovitz, was hired during the film production.
So I believe at the time the movie was made, Hartman was already a cast member because I think he joined the show in 86, I think.
Right.
And then I'm trying to think. I'm trying to look here, kind of just on the history of the production history.
I read that the role of the radio was written for Lovitz, but that he was cast in SNL, and they had to work around the production schedule so that he could still be in the movie, or something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so actually, so here I'm reading. Okay, so it's after being cast, John Lovitz got an opportunity to appear on Saturday Night Live because Rees had written the part of the radio for Lovitz. He tried hard to find a way to keep Lovitz on in the film, and they ended up doing a marathon recording session, getting all of his dialogue in one night.
That is a marathon.
Which explains why all his shit sounds like random sound bites or like contextual sound bites. He
Well,
knew the basic script.
Right.
But,
He did Hamburger the motion picture just the year prior.
which is a masterpiece.
Right.
Let us
But yeah, my point being though that from the get-go, impressions have been a huge part of SNL's MO and continue to be to this day. So there's definitely still a lot of it out there. You just maybe don't see it as much, like in terms of, okay, we're going to have a bit player in an animated film. We're going to make them sound like someone else. You probably don't see that as often as you used to. Or like you said, Robin Williams just randomly throwing impressions out during a long whatever.
All right, and I guess for me, favorites. I mean, definitely as a horror fan, definitely the B movie show. Actually, the song "It's a B Movie" definitely stuck out to me. Definitely a lot of the darker moments. "Worthless" is an excellent song too. Actually, I'd say all the songs in this movie were really well done. As was the animation, the characters, the story. I agree with Mo. There's just so much to like about this, and it was definitely a movie ahead of its time. It's definitely a movie ahead of its time.
I will have to say that the voice of Tony the Tiger also played the Lethargian in the Phantom Tollbooth.
Yeah, and he also sang all the songs in the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Oh,
that's what I think of when I think Thurl Ravenscroft is your name on Mr. Grinch. I mean,
and I guess he also played the voice. I guess he also played the voice of Jafar when he turned into the genie.
Whatever happened to good naming conventions? I mean, we don't get any good Thurls these days.
Right. Actually, though, I was thinking the other day, and actually Thurl Ravenscroft sounds like maybe someone that sounds like a name you'd see in a YA novel. Yeah, exactly. But I was thinking the other day, like, I've always thought Benedict Cumberbatch had a really weird name. And I was thinking the other day that it was like if someone was writing a kid's book and they were trying to come up with the most British name they could think of, that might have been what they would come up with.
That's okay. The first thing I thought of when I heard Kirby's voice, I was thinking, could this be the voice of the Gump from Return to Oz? And I looked it up, and it was like, no.
See, when you have too many syllables in your name like that, though, people are just immediately, and most of the time, rightly so, going to assume that you're fucking asshole. Yeah. Because people that have that many syllables in their name tend to think that they're better than those of us that have less syllables in their name. And it's like, get the fuck out of here, bro. Anyway.
So did we get all the favorites?
I think we did.
Pretty much.
Well, let's hit our outros.
Sounds good.
Alrighty. Why don't we start with you, Mo? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, my name is Mo. I run a channel called Retro Cult Home Video. We do a bunch of full moon content. Recently just did a 4th of July pickup special, as well as a full-length discussion for the film Crash and Burn from 1990, starring Bill Moseley and Megan Ward. Definitely a film most of you guys probably haven't seen, but should. Whether you like Full Moon or not, it's a badass film. So
it is indeed.
Yeah. Other than that, I pretty much don't have anything else going on that I can announce at the moment. But I do have some fun stuff that I can tease, like an upcoming series with a certain little micro-budget filmmaker that we all know and love, most of us anyways. So, yeah, some cool stuff on the horizon, but can't really talk about it at the moment.
Alrighty. Let's go over to you, Jake. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
All right, I'm Kotobukijake. I'm the co-host of SeptumSin versus the World, where we talk about all kinds of physical media and do various. Sorry about that. I do various discussions, pick up videos and so forth, and we are, of course, also do our anime discussions. And this talking about nostalgia. This month we're looking at The Slayers, which for me is a very nostalgic show. So I'm very much looking forward to that discussion. And of course, I am a big movie fan, collector, what have you. I sometimes throw some green toward Kickstarter projects, and there's actually a few of them that I'll hopefully have a thanks credit rolling out sometime the next couple of years. So that'll be fun. And then
Very cool, dude.
Try
I didn't know you wrote
to
like that, Jake.
a little bit. And of course, I spend a lot of time at work, either my main job or my real gig, which is a native plant nursery I co-founded. But I still make time when I can to watch what I can, and particularly to watch to come on with these fine folks each week and talk about our various things. And Forrest, incidentally, I wanted to give you a shout out for your randomness this month, following up Spinal Tap with the Brave Little Toaster, and then going straight into Trauma. That's some little bit of tonal and thematic whiplash there that I have to respect. So look forward to that one. I think.
I try to touch all the bases on things that I guess are of interest to me. So
very good. Well,
Actually,
that's what this month is for.
I would definitely think of it as a good step from, as that selection is a good step from. This is Spinal Tap. It's not that far away from.
Oh yeah,
because it's more comedy than it is horror. So
yeah, very good, very good. And well, I guess that about does it for me.
Alrighty, let's go over to you, Dustin. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm the Crypt of Horrors. I run the YouTube channel The Crypt of Horrors. I collect pretty much anything related to horror, vinyl, Blu-rays, figures, whatever. And I just talk about the things I find in my videos. I'm getting ready to make a bunch of new stuff. I haven't been able to collect anything for a while. But I do have a lot of stuff that I haven't shot yet. So we've got a big pile of vinyl. We've got a lot of stuff that we're working on getting uploaded. So go check me out. And the more subscribers I have, the more I feel guilty and am incentivized to post. So go subscribe to the group, of course. I'm on Instagram under the same name, and I'm on Twitter as DurCryptaxis too. Yeah, I'm on Twitter all the time. I'm there right now.
Alrighty.
Jake, have you guys at your nursery? Do you guys know about pickles and shit? Like,
about what?
If you guys just make some pickles, you can just flavor those, and like white people will buy the shit out of flavored pickles all the time. So you can use that fun to your nursery. You know?
Not quite the focus that we have there, but there might be some things where it's worth looking into.
The pickles would be your side hustle, and then you could hook me and Brandon up. I mean, it works out for all of us. Why are you already shooting down the pickle idea? Can we discuss this a little bit more, Jacob?
Maybe after the show.
I'll have to look into
it. Hit me up after.
Let's go over to Tammy. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do?
David's fiance, and I go on here and another one and talk about movies and learn what everybody thinks about them and everything. It makes a lot of fun to hear everybody's thoughts and opinions, and I collect movies myself and music, and now that it's summer, I take my 1972 Grand Prix out for fun.
And she's not worthless. But in any case, going over to Forrest here, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
All right, my name is Forrest Bennett. I am an independent film producer and sometimes actor based in Long Island, New York. I actually just filmed a movie yesterday called Silent Night, Bloody Night 3 from Cult Cinema, and I'm working on another. I'm also acting in another project right now too. I'm also you can find me on Twitter for Forrest Bennett 16, I believe, and on Instagram under My Name Is Not Gump, where I do comic book pickups. Also, you can go on my YouTube channel, Forrest B. Bennett, where I sometimes do movie pickups. I've always got something going on in the pipeline.
Alrighty, heading over to you, Brandon. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, I'm SeptumSin, SeptumSin versus the world. We love physical media here, and we do a lot of collection videos where we do pickups. I need to recalibrate video quality for the next one. We've got a couple other things, though. I've got a couple other episodes of the Anhedenia project ready. Got one filmed and releasing Thursday, and hopefully another one next week. But that one's going to be for Give My Regards to O'Hare. He's a very busy man. I think this is his 5th film in this year that he has released. As far as other things, I do a deep dives, what I call film cycle analysis, and I have so far 4. Actually no 5. The 3 Craiglon incident movies from Joel Wynkoop. The Dante's Shadow of Sin, which is a Versus Awards contender, which we'll hit in a moment, and actually Craiglon 2 is a Versus Awards contender as well, and then Horror Tale 666 Part 1. And Part 2, I've already written the script. I've watched the film, the prerequisite 5 or 6 times that I normally watch a film that I review. And I just need to get down and film it and then edit the clips in, and I'll have that done. But I'm surprised Jake didn't go into the Versus Awards because we are into voting. And I've placed the link.
I'm surprised too.
How you can actually join us. The Versus Awards are an award show where we try being the operative term, to get a more popular opinion that isn't as commercialized as, say, the People's Choice Awards or as corrupt as, say, the Oscars, where we can try and give most films a chance, both big and small. And we have a pretty good crop out this year. The nominees are done, but the voting is on, and it will be going on until the 15th of October. So check the links down below. Sorry, August. So click on the link down below. There's a link that you can go onto Facebook. Just join that, and you will be able to vote in all 33 categories if you wish, and be there. So with that being said, that's it for me, but check it out.
Alrighty, and my name is David Streggy. I'm one of the founding fathers of Inside Movies Galore, so thank you for coming along with us on this journey with us. This is a chance for each of us to, now that we've been on the air for 5 years, to put out some films that really mean something to us. And I appreciate you, Forrest, for showing us a bit of side of you. So,
You're welcome.
But I also moonlight under a different channel called Delusions of Grandeur, where I go on about my own video pickups and my own video reviews from time to time. So please check that out. Like, share, and subscribe, as well as let us know down in the comments what you thought of our discussion, and whether you thought the film was as great as some of us think, or whether you've even seen the film. If you haven't, go out, watch it, and come back and join us next week, because we're going to have some more films the rest of this month that Forrest has chosen. And why don't you tell us a little bit about next week's film?
All right, next week's film is from we're going from talking appliances to nuclear mutants in high school, with Troma's Class of Nukem High from 1986, which I'm a huge Troma fan. I've done stuff with Troma in the last couple of years, so looking forward to shedding light on something from them, shedding light on Troma, who's meant a lot to me as someone who works in independent film.
It's actually funny that the Troma films that I've been on for, though there's not been that many, I think we covered Tromeo and Juliet, and what other one? I swear we did at least one.
Didn't you say, guys? Didn't you guys do Terra Firma?
Nope.
Nope. I believe this
I think it's only been Tromeo and Juliet.
Yep.
I've got the Troma Tuesday shit dating back for like 2 years, but I don't know why I've never really capitalized on it with Forrest. We should have been really like pre-recording episodes that we release.
I know. Although we did talk about, we did talk the Toxic Avenger on Amityville Horror.
Amityville, yeah. That was it was a fun time. But we need to cover more of them.
Yeah.
There's so many good Troma movies that we're never going to get into the main voting on this shit. So.
I've seen like 4 Troma movies and the entirety of their collection, and we're covering one of the ones I've seen. It's kind of funny.
If me and fucking Forrest were doing like at least a bi-weekly review show, you guys would know about a lot more of them.
Oh yeah.
So get on there, get Lloyd on the phone there, and y'all could do it together.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, to you, Dave.
Alrighty. Well, hopefully you just come back and we'll have a blast next time. So everyone say good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Damn, dude.